This episode was about the case of Kurt Sova. It was one of Ohio's most perplexing unsolved cases. Kurt Sova, a 17-year-old from Newburgh Heights, Ohio, was known as a friendly and well-liked teenager. His life took an unexpected and tragic turn in October 1981. Kurt attended a party at a duplex near his home. Witnesses say he wasn't a big drinker, but reportedly that night he consumed a ton of alcohol. Kurt never made it home that night. His parents, frantic with worry, launched a search. The community rallied, but Kurt seemed to have vanished into thin air. 5 grueling days later, a discovery was made. Kurt's body was found in a ravine just 500 yards from the party's location he was at that night. Oddly, this area had been previously searched, raising questions about when and how his body was placed there. The autopsy deepened the mystery. The coroner concluded that Kurt had been dead for only 24 to 36 hours before being found, contradicting the 5 days he had been missing. There were no clear signs of trauma or any definitive causes of death. Almost a year later, another local teen, David Knapp, was found dead under similar bizarre circumstances, fueling speculation of a connection. Investigators explored various leads: accidental death, foul play, and even outlandish theories like cult activity, but they hit dead ends. Witnesses from the party provided conflicting accounts, and the limited forensic technology of the time offered very few answers. The Sova family was left with unanswered questions. The community speculated, was this an unfortunate accident, or was Kurt the victim of something more sinister? The lack of shoes on both Kurt and David Knapp in their respective cases added to the eerie unsolved puzzle. Decades have passed, but the mystery of Kurt Sova's death remains. Without new evidence, the truth behind this case continues to go on. In the quiet town of San Angelo, Texas, a mystery lingered for decades. This is the story of Sally McNelly and Shane Stewart, 2 teenagers whose lives were tragically cut short, leaving behind a case that's baffled people for years. Sally and Shane were typical teenagers enjoying the summer of 1988, but their lives took a dark turn on July 4th. After attending a local fireworks display that night, they vanished, starting a desperate search that gripped the San Angelo community. Months of agonizing uncertainty followed. Then in November, a grim discovery was made near Twin Buttes Reserve. The remains of Sally and Shane were found, turning the missing persons case into a homicide investigation. The details of their demise were scarce, but it was clear that they had met a tragic end. They started hanging around the wrong group of people and got entangled in cult-like activities. This one wasn't a case of satanic panic. They were actually dabbling in darker things. And in the case of McNelly and Stewart, some of them suggested that their deaths were due to that. This speculation was fueled by the mysterious circumstances of their disappearance and the fact that their bodies were found on the outskirts of town, a setting that some associated with occult activities at the time. Though the investigation faced immense challenges, with time against them, law enforcement struggled to piece together what happened that fateful night. Despite various leads and suspects, the case grew cold. As years passed, advances in forensic technology brought new hope. Investigators revisited the case. The impact of Sally and Shane's untimely deaths resonated deeply in San Angelo. Their families and the community have longed for answers and justice, a quest that continues to this day. Their deaths have also captured the attention of the nation, featured in various media and true crime discussions, yet unfortunately the mystery remains unsolved. In a quiet town of Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania in the early 1980s, a story unfolded so bizarre and unnerving that it defied all logic. This is the story of Don Decker, a young man who became known as Rainboy, a name that hints at a chilling and otherworldly phenomenon. The story starts with Don Decker, who at the time was serving a jail sentence. He was granted a brief leave to attend his grandfather's funeral. Little did anyone know this event would trigger a series of unexplained and eerie occurrences. In the house where Don stayed during his leave, witnesses were left completely speechless as rain began to fall from the living room ceiling. Water materialized from nowhere, drenching the room in a matter of minutes. The enigma deepened when Decker returned to jail. Here, in the confines of his cell, the inexplicable indoor rain followed him. Guards and inmates alike stood witness to this baffling phenomenon, as water dripped down the walls and ceiling, defying any explanations. Years later, when he was out in a local pizzeria, customers and staff watched in disbelief as water began to seep from the walls and ceiling, with Don present further intensifying the mystery surrounding him. Some say Decker had the ability to control this phenomenon, a chilling thought that ties the rain to his emotional state. When calm, the rain ceased, but when agitated, the rain began. What adds to the chilling nature of this tale are the accounts from credible witnesses, including law enforcement, jail guards, and many more. Their testimonies lend an air of authenticity to a story that seems ripped from the pages of a horror novel. The story of Don Decker, the Rain Boy, remains shrouded in mystery. To this day, no one's been able to prove or debunk it. It's an inexplicable link between a young man and the elements, a paranormal phenomenon that challenges our understanding of the natural world. Our story begins in Stark County, Ohio in 1984. Bill and Dorothy Wacker, a seemingly ordinary couple, found themselves the target of a bizarre and relentless campaign of psychological terror. It started with break-ins, but these were no ordinary burglaries. The intruder never took anything of significant value. Instead, they moved items, left things in unusual places, a chilling game of cat and mouse designed to instill fear and confusion. The harassment intensified with threatening and eerie phone calls, a voice in the darkness that knew no bounds, invading the Wacker's peace at all hours of the night. In 1985, the situation took a violent turn. Dorothy was assaulted in her own home, found bound and gagged, yet nothing of value was taken again. Afterwards, the tormentor began to leave notes taunting the couple, playing a psychological game that left Bill and Dorothy in a constant state of fear and paranoia. The case even caught the eye of the media and, of course, law enforcement, but despite the attention, the perpetrator remained a shadow and was never captured. To this day, the mystery persists. Was it a personal vendetta, a random stalker, someone they knew, or a complete stranger? The legacy and story of Bill and Dorothy Wacker's story is a chilling reminder of the impact of psychological terror, and a terrifying reminder that sometimes there are things out there that are watching us that we can't see. Pam and Eric Ellender, a young couple deeply in love with a new baby, living the American dream in Louisiana, but their perfect life was about to turn into a horrific nightmare. On a cold February night in 1991, Pam and Eric were brutally attacked and their lives taken from them in their own bed, shot at close range. The peaceful town was rocked by this savage act, leaving everyone asking, who could have done this? This is where you're introduced to Chris Prudhomme, an 18-year-old found driving Eric's stolen car. His confession seemed to close the case, but then in a shocking twist, Prudhomme was found dead in his cell, leaving a note confessing to the murders. But was it really that simple? Pam's father, Huey Littleton, wasn't convinced, and he dove headfirst into the case, uncovering a witness who claimed a bizarre party took place at the Ellenders' home right after the murders with attendees, including Prudhomme. Littleton's investigation took a dark turn, suggesting a satanic cult named Skaters might be involved, painting a picture of a burglary gone wrong, fueled by drugs, Satan, and occult practices. But the deeper Littleton dug, the more the waters muddied. Witnesses recanted, evidence was deemed unreliable, and other suspects, like Kim Manuel, were indicted but later cleared. The truth seemed to constantly slip further away. Eventually, Robert Atkins, linked to Prudhomme, pleaded guilty to manslaughter. The case was officially closed, but for Huey Littleton and many others, the full story of that tragic night remains a haunting mystery. Why did Prudhomme die in his cell? What was this party that took place in their home right after their murders? Was this some kind of ritual? Was this all a muffled hearsay, she say? To this day, we don't know.